Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding and chill. I'm your host Johnny, delighted to be here. I hope you're having an amazing weekend and indeed an amazing life. Today we're gonna be using SvelteKit to do some game dev prototyping. I've been playing and I've been very inspired by the recent release that everyone has been raving about called Blueprints, and what we'll be building today is something that you can actually click the link in the description and play around already. But I've nuked everything, so we'll be starting from scratch here. We'll be using handy Svelte tricks and web dev tricks really, like Svelte context and general web dev stuff like local storage and session storage to persist the user's state. We'll be making this much better and much more complicated, but you can already click around and see if that's something you're into. And at the end of the stream, I'm gonna just post this live, and if you are clicking the link in the description in the end tomorrow, then you'll have an even more fun version of this game. So Blueprints is something that whenever people talk about, I always thought they were talking about blueprints, like architectural blueprints, but it turns out it's blueprints of royal blood, but also a pun, because a key part of the game is these blueprints that every time you open a door, you get 3 options and you select which one is going to be the one that's actually going to be the one you will be walking into. So essentially you have to fill out this big mansion and use the room layouts and the room types in order to get to the end point while having collected a few necessary things and tricks and puzzles. No spoilers on what exactly is happening. Of course, the Blueprints video game is more than just this cool map system, but I do think this is such a cool mechanic that lots of people are gonna try and copy. And if you are also enamored with this mechanic like I am, then I do think it's faster for me to develop in Svelte and SvelteKit anyway in JavaScript on the web. But also, it's so much easier to deploy this and send links to my friends and tell them, try to go around like this mansion that I've created. So if I wanted to retheme this to be a startup-based map-making game, where you have like the front-end room and the back-end room and like the marketing team and whatever else, then I can quickly iterate by not needing to put early access in Steam or even upload something to itch.io. That takes a while. Even aside of that, Godot is quite fast for a game engine. It runs on my Mac, but still not as fast as I can do web dev. Unreal Engine has been getting better. I've been trying it out, and the 5.5 release is workable on my Mac, but still nowhere near being able to just VS Code and do some JavaScript things around. So the focus of this stream is filling out the map here. We'll have an entrance and we'll have like an end goal and something like that. And this is a mechanic that I've been told also appears in board games such as Betrayal on the House of the Hill. Betrayal Legacy, I've been told, is super good, and I almost got into it during the pandemic, but I didn't. But it feels like this sort of thing where you have a vague idea of it's this mansion or it's this house or it's this area, and you as the player, as the players actually play the game, you get to define what the exact layout of the gameplay area is. So I thought Quantum is a good name for these rooms, because until you observe them, you don't know if they are a bedroom or if they are like a green room, like a garden or something like that. So I thought that'd be quite fun. Anyway, that's about it. That's the premise of today. Let's get to the coding. What do you say? I do say that I will put that timestamp here because I realize that some people like to click around. Maybe you want to watch something again. Maybe you don't want the preamble. Why not? We're here to live code and chill. So what we have already is pretty much nothing. We have this page in this app I just made yesterday where we just say to do, create a blueprints style user-defined mansion map. So this is this estate Svelte component that I've just created. It has nothing in it. You can see that we have live reload. So the moment I save, you can see on the left just about that the text updates. I can make this like the main area of the game. And I have Tailwind set up so I can make this be like a super big class so you can see what I'm doing. Hello. And on the first step, I want to recreate the grid system. And I can add a script tab at the front because I want to do JavaScript. And I can specify the language as TypeScript because actually I want to do TypeScript. The suggestions aren't what I want. Let's say that we have like a grid that is gonna be like a few rooms, and maybe they can just be like strings first. So it can be like entrance, whatever. This autocomplete is fine. And in SvelteKit, you can iterate like that. You can say # grid as a room, and then it's doing a few too complicated things. Let's just say that we want a div and its room is actually the room name. So let's try to render that. There you go. We have like these 5 items here, but what I want is many other items, and I want this grid type architectural blueprint, like very neat squares aligned with each other. So we can use display grid, and we can define that we want always 5 cells, 5 columns per row, and 5 rows or 10 rows as the game wants us to, as blueprints the game wants us to. Maybe we'll do a 5 by 5. So in Tailwind, no gap, you can specify grid goals for 4 columns, grid rows 4 or 4 rows, but actually we want it to be 5 by 5 to start with. And there you can see we have like a bit of an empty row. We actually want like 25 items here, I suppose 5 by 5. So let's make our grid a bit cleverer. We can do like an array of 25 items, and then just map just a placeholder thingy, an unknown room for each one of these. Each one of these fellas, and that can work on every screen. We can give our mansion a bit of pattern, bit of border maybe, and maybe border 2, and the border can be like super white, slate bluish white, like this. And each room can have a border as well. Of the same color. And we want this to take as much of the screen as possible. You can see that we have a container of the game area here when it comes to width, but it doesn't grow as much as possible on the height. We are inside a flex container, so if we just grow this should just work. And we can say place content center here. So our rooms are kind of nice. So we want one of them to be the entrance, and in blueprints, it's always, well, you start from the bottom and go to the front, but I think it's going to be easier if we scroll down to the end. In this case, in blueprints, you always start from like row 1, rank 1, they call it. In the middle is the entrance, and then in the final row, you have the like a special room that you're supposed to get to. So we could do that. We can start writing some game logic instead of just saying that the grid is going to be just an array of items. And maybe we can't just say this. And we want to mutate the grid immediately and say that actually, like the index 0, index 1, index 2 item, it's going to be like the entrance. And index 24, 23, 22 is going to be like the exit or goal. And that's about it. We could do special styling according to what the room type is. So we could say in modern SvelteKit, you can actually, in the class attribute, you can pass an array of things. And the items of the array can be strings, as here, but it can also be an object. So you can give these conditional statements, and this class, or you can have many classes here, will only apply if this statement is truthy. So here it looks like the copilot has decided that it will apply a white background on the entrance, a green background for the goal, and kind of more grays white for the unknown rooms. Ugh. Blinded. It's 950, I think. Yeah, not too bad. It's 900, I think, actually. Maybe it has no background. Maybe the whole house has like this default background. And this applies nothing. And we can say that also the text should be kind of whitish as well for most things. But to showcase this as well, for this room, we want the text to be almost perfect black. To have acceptable contrast here. And yeah, like, should we make this gold? It's gold, the thing. Let's see the tailwind palette. Let's see if we have like some cool colors here. We can have like a rose. All right, so that's the first part of what we want to do with showing a grid. But the fun is going to be filling out items as we click on them. We want to be able to click on a quantum chamber, and then we want to pop up a selection of like 3 things that this quantum chamber can be, and then the user selects one, and then more quantum chambers appear according to how many entrances and exits there are. So what's going to be a quantum room? It would be like everything connected to the entrance. So it's going to be index 1, 3, and 6, whatever. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hear me count live. So let's call this like a quantum room. And if it's a quantum room, then let's have like this cyan maybe background, literally blue background. let's do like a blue, more like the literal blueprint. Yeah. So the quantum rooms, you should be able to click and then make them be like some other type of room. Right. So how would we do that? We could have an on-click on every div. And then this would mutate the room on that index. So when you iterate in SvelteKit, you can have the index number here. And you can also key by this index, which is what happens by default. But the new linter is complaining if you don't use a unique key for each of these. It's not as helpful to use the index. It's what happens by default. But I guess it gets you into the pattern of where if you did have like items that have an ID parameter, you would be using the ID parameter here. I don't know. I like consistency, so it makes sense, but it's a bit of a bother. Anyway, we also get the accessibility complaint that, oh, it's a div, but you're making it an interactive element. We will refactor this soon enough, don't worry. The point is that on click, we'd want to like update the grid, right? We'd want to say that grid on the index, let's make it like an exit, because that's the only thing that we've styled here. Which you can see updates, but it's, let's make it like goal. And you can say that we can only do this if it's like a quantum. So we see that happens, but that's guaranteed to eventually fail and be buggy. Because the moment you want to have something get manipulated, and for Svelte to always know that it needs to re-render it, you need to use state. You need to start working with runes. So, and indeed, I kind of want to know this now works every time. Maybe it's just because it's an array of strings. If it was like an array of objects, then won't know. So let's see. We'll want more complicated things for each room. So let's refactor this to have like a type of unknown. And then refactor all of these guys as well. Good. Get this. Return the object. And make this goal as well. And we now want to display type here. We want to use the type here. Room type. Sure. Still works. Well done, Svelte, for managing to figure it out. I guess because there is an on-click, then it kinda rechecks this attribute here. We'll figure it out eventually. The way to give the Svelte compiler the hint that this is actually something you plan to be mutating is to be using the state rune. But I wish I did have an example like I had before to show you how things would go wrong. And instead of mutating the grid directly, you'd need to say maybe here that the new grid, spread the existing grid, new grid, mutate that one in place, and then assign the grid to be the new grid. But yeah, of course, this needs to be a let at this point. Still works, but Svelte has a better hint that we are expecting this to change as the user interacts in the app. So to get around of all of this, you can just specify that this is like a button. But not every room is interactable, not every room should be a button. So I'm not sure if that's what we'll be doing. But it could be. Oh, and all of these mutations that we're doing, not good. Let's create the initial green here. And do all of these operations in the initial grid when the component mounts for the very first time. All right, still works. We won't be keeping each one of these as a button. Let me have a look at the agenda here. Oh, we've done the coloring already. So I don't want each of these to be a button, and I want more things to happen when you click. I guess just a quick thing to show is make neighbors, make unknown neighbors, turn unknown neighbors into quantum rooms. And yeah, you can check this one, you can check the next one, you can check this one. This is not ideal. This won't work no matter where you are, but you can see that it kind of starts working. You can see that the previous index of this is on the different row because we are using an one-dimensional array, but we'll be using a more traditional two-dimensional array in order to be able to keep the X and Y position and be able to identify what is a neighbor and what isn't in a more sensible, still easy way. But just to get us going, we can have this. Let's turn this into like a green room here, and if it's like a green room, tries to help but not quite. So every time we click, we create green rooms. We want more logic here. And as we said, the unknown rooms, you cannot interact, so they shouldn't be button elements. The goal, maybe you can interact, maybe it opens a different link. Maybe we want to have like puzzle rooms that when you click, you get a dialogue or you go to a different page and then you need to solve a puzzle to get some inventory that you'll be able to spend later to build more advanced rooms or something like that. So how do we get around this? That's my question. Or one of my questions. We could encapsulate this logic into a different component and say, all right, quantum room is a button that has an on click and then you do like something. But if it's like an entrance room, then it's its own component, has its own self-contained logic, so you don't have to just look at this one Svelte file that has logic for like 50 types of room, 100 types of rooms, like 3 million types of rooms. The better this game goes, the more room types we'll want to add. And that's the point of wanting to get this out and getting people to start clicking around the rooms themselves. the fun would be figuring out, okay, this room type is good, this needs some fine tuning. Maybe you get into the repo and then you add your own room or something like that. Maybe one is glitzy. Like, you wouldn't be able to do this if you had like 10,000 lines of code defining what happens according to every room type here in this on-click statement. So on click, you could say, oh, if it's a puzzle room, then, you know, do something else. Navigate the user to a different place. Not ideal. So that's what we're gonna do. According to what type of room it is, we're gonna render a different component. And the idea would be that we'll have an abstract type of room that just gets every room parameter. And probably the coordinates as well. So we'll be able to do this better. And move on with our lives. So let's have a look at this. Should I do the game controller first? Let's say use XY coordinates. Because I think that's more necessary now. Let's get rid of that bug. So before we even do this refactor, I do want to refactor into using coordinates instead of just having the array index be the signifier. Because the easy way to understand if it's a neighbor or not is just do this autocomplete functionality that of course doesn't work. That gets stripped up when it's when a room is at the edge of the screen. It will get like one that it shouldn't. An easy way to solve this is saying that the initial grid, instead of having be a one-dimensional array, just an array of rooms, it could be an array of arrays. So for every row, for every rank, we have 5 rooms. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna define like a room type. And like, let's just say that the type is like any string. And it should have coordinates. It should be an X number and a Y number. And we can create a method like create initial grid. Takes nothing. And then we're kind of cooking. Let's see what it's doing here. It's saying that 25 times I want to do this, but not quite. I want to do a double loop here, which, you know, loop within a loop, it's fine here. It's not like too complex. And most of all, it's for a set amount of cells and rows. I know the game design, this is going to be like 5 or 10 rows and 5 cells. It's not going to be according to something in the database. And then you can have, some user wants to do like 1,000,000 rows and 500 cells. And then if you do like a loop within a loop, then maybe things get out of hand. Hello, Faragalo. It's so great to see you catching me in this live stream back. Somehow Johnny has returned. We're back. So here, what I want is the row starts with 0. Can't be a constant. And if the row is less than 10, we want 10 rows. And keep increasing the row every time. It's definitely a let you keep increasing it. Then I want for each one of those, for each column, not golem, and the type will be unknown here. let's say 5 columns wide, and then you push this room, which always has coordinates. And then you get the initial grid back. But we still want to define. We could randomize this later. Let's call this initial grid. We don't want this, but we do want this. And we still want the entrance to be in the same place and the goal to be in the same place. Let's say that for, should we call this like, is X and Y confusing or not? You let me know. So this is 0, 0. We want 0, 1, 0, 2 to be the entrance. So for Y0, in blueprints, they call these ranks. We can call these ranks. But then what you'd call this, like column? So I'd rather it be X and Y. So anyway, we have all of these guys, but then we want to make the one that's on what do we want now? Refactor. Okay, so this is the row index. This is the Y. This is the Y coordinate. Here we go. I'm thinking off the fly, on the fly, like always. So this is the Y coordinate. This is the X coordinate. Great. And for each one of these, we want to create a row. It's going to be, again, this is going to be an array of rooms. This is going to be an array of rooms, actually. So it's in this row that we want to push this room. And then at the end of this for loop, we want in the initial grid to push this row. And finally, we want to do this mutation to say that for row 0, that's the Y first, and the 0, 1, 2 type, I want it to be entrance. And similarly for the others, we can say it's true, but it doesn't know that we have like 10 rows, I guess. So this would be 9. And we want rooms adjacent to the entrance are quantum. And that I believe is correct. And we want initially the state to run this method, create the initial grid. But then our rendering is going to be different as well, because it's grid. This is the row. And the Y coordinate. And then for its row as room, and this is going to be the X coordinate, we want to do something. So we have 2 loops in here for our 2-dimensional array. And when we click this, we want to mutate a specific type of thing here. We want to mutate the Y-X position, I suppose. Let's make the type green. neighbors, see if autocomplete will get it this time. Don't forget the tag. And hopefully this gets all the neighbors. Guess not. Oh, so just a random import we got. But this actually works, too many rows for now, so maybe we can define like the amount of rows or whatever. Max rows. Let's do 5 rows and 5 columns. Column row count and column count, and use them here dynamically. Does that make sense? This looks like way too many. Whoa. So the moment I do like 2 for this, yeah, there's something going on in our loop for sure. Any sense this runs like a million times? Probably not. Ah, yeah, this should be outside of this loop, obviously. He says, and it fails. So at the end of this loop, then this should fail. These are all the rows to be less than this. We create the row here, we push stuff here, and then we push it. So that should be fine. After we've added all the cells, we add the row. But what's the problem here? Ah, the problem is here. I guess we were mutating it. So if we don't do this, this works. It's a 5 by 5. Great. So this auto-completed code, let's have a better look at what we want. So if we don't mutate this, then that's fine. And it's like, oh, do this. Ah, of course, we were making the exit be like on the 10th. This is not what we want. So human error, it's not the AI. So at the end, I think we were hard coding that this was 9 and we didn't have the 9th row because we had fewer rows now. All right, so we have this again. Super. And when we click, it works. Not quite. So let's try again. This one becomes green. Great. Let's see if the autocomplete will get it. That's the one. So if the y is more than 0, so it's not on the edge, then try to get that one. If it's unknown, then you turn it into quantum. So this should hit the one on the left. Yes, it didn't. Yeah, we'll never get there. It's the one at the top. So if you're not at the top, this is the top one. If we're not at the bottom, then check to see if the bottom one is of unknown type, and if so, turn it into quantum. If we're not on the left, if we are not at the edge on the right, if we're not on the left, actually, like this, if we're not on the left, if x is 0, then we are on the left. If x is the maximum width, the length of any one row is how many rooms we have in each row. And the length of the grid is how many rows we have. So that makes sense. So now this will work perfectly, no bugs. Great. So if we run on the edge, it affects the correct ones. Nothing goes wrong. Doesn't override the goal. Great. You can win the game. So if you click, if you activate on the goal, then we want confetti or something like that. But you should only be able to activate the goal if there is like a connection to it, for example. And we have like other logic that we may want to have. So, as we're saying, instead of all of this and then the extra logic, so if it's the goal and if something nearby is connected or whatever, we want to refactor this to its own component and only render this according to whether the type of the room is quantum. So if it's quantum, find the quantum room, render that one, encapsulate that logic there. That's what I think I want to do. Let's say refactor for encapsulated, for bespoke, for a bespoke Svelte component per room. 44 minutes in, not too shabby. We'll do this refactor. We'll talk about an inconvenience now that we'll have this refactor done. And then we'll use context to get around that inconvenience. So, instead of just rendering this button component for every room type, I have already created like a room component here, which I can even just not see and just delete. Trash. And make it up from scratch. So to start with, I could copy all of this state component, and in my rooms directory, I can create a room.svelte, like a generic room. And I don't want any of this in this generic room, but I do want this for now. Let's say that we want to render a button. But what is a room in this context? We can say that type room is this. And we can get the room from the props. So when we render this component, make sure to give it props. Don't want this. And then the problem becomes, well, what happens on click? How do we get access to the grid again? Who knows? So let's make this like a generic component. Generic div without an on-click. And in here in the state, let's say for each row with xy, I guess we don't even need this again. We can say we can render this new room component. So this seemingly will work the same, but we've lost our click functionality. The other thing we can do is that some things are common. So maybe this class, we can apply it here. But in order for this room to accept a class coordinate, so this has a room and this has a class. We alias class to class name because class a reserved keyword in JavaScript. So use the class name here. And that's fine and dandy. And we said that this component will want to do its calculations to figure out what type of room it should be creating. And we can create like the entrance room and the quantum room and all of that. So let's delete this. Let's delete everything. Let's not be lazy. Just forgot to do it before the stream. So instead of conditionally applying classes according to the type of the room, we could actually use a component per room. So we could take inspiration from this room component and just create, how many do we have? 4 types of rooms. Create 4 duplicates. That's too much. Take it back. Let's do the entrance room. And take it from there. So the entrance room would similarly be taking the room parameter and props and a class, whatever. But we know that it's going to be this. It will always be the entrance room. So you can just apply the classes like this. Just a string. And it doesn't do anything else that's special. And then based on that, we can do the goal, but give it these specific classes. And yeah, it's not the state that gives the classes. Come on. Take it back. The room doesn't get given classes after all. Take this back. The room has some default classes that I can apply here. Refactoring on the fly. Copied too much. Right. And we've done the entrance room. And the entrance room, I've said. And we want to do the goal room. These are the classes we want to steal. Oh, we've done it already. good. And let's do the quantum room now, which is gonna be a button. So that takes care of that minor problem we had. And finally, we have the green room. So let's copy the anything but the quantum room. Copy the goal once again, and we have the unknown room, right? Just calling it unknown, like the TypeScript type. It's fine. It works. Right. So where were we at? No, we don't have the unknown room. We had the green room remaining. So this is the green room, and we also want like the unknown room. Let's see. It doesn't like when I say unknown for some reason. All right, so no conditional classes here. And the thing is, instead of just rendering div, we want to render the component that's appropriate for this room type. So we could import, in fact, we will import every room type that we've created. The goal, green, the unknown, and the quantum. Nope. And we can have a helper function here that has a switch case for derive room for type and gets a type, and it returns the appropriate component according to the given type. And in the unknown case, and also the default case, you can return the unknown component, just to be a bit more explicit here. And we're going to use this to say that our component is going to be derived room type. Just call it like a regular method, so I don't know what inserting like these weird parameters here. And then this component we just render here. And that's it. Just give it a class here. And move on with our lives. And this component will always have, we know that all of these have like a class as a prop. So this should be fine. Maybe not. I cannot define type, it says. So the state, what's the state doing? We're given the room here. Great. Great, I say. And this always has a type, right? I may need to have a look at what I was doing before. So this doesn't like. So where are we taking type? Do we do this elsewhere? Too many places. Oh, this. Yeah, so what am I doing here? Just render a component and pass it to the room itself. JavaScript was trying to tell me. All right, so this will always have a type. Render this component, give it the props that it wants. We know that every one of these components take a class and take a room. So that's the thing I was forgetting. It was crashing. I was trying to render it kind of weird. We got there. So now we're rendering everything. We have increased accessibility because the quantum room is the only one that's a button component, and so it's like highlightable, navigatable with the keyboard even, and you can actually click, and the other ones are not. You cannot click them, so they shouldn't be interactive, and this one should only be interactive in the end when you can actually reach the goal. So that's some good stuff we've done, but we have this problem where we had this complicated logic about committing, like pressing quantum, and then it becomes the green room, like the simplified logic that will make more complicated later, but still, we cannot do this yet. What we had here was like on click, then we were mutating the whole grid. We were saying in my coordinates, then do this, and also change the neighbors around these coordinates. So we could get around this by having this component also get the whole grid, but then we need the state, this component that houses all our rooms, to pass it down to its generic room, and then its generic room would need to pass down the grid to its component. Or we could have like a potential like handle click method, and then it's gonna be the state component that creates like a handle click. And then when you click, you mutate the grid like we did before. But we only want that click to happen if it's a quantum room. So we have that problem again where should this be checking the room type and then doing something different according to whether it's the quantum room and whatnot. Bad idea. Some people hate passing down things across multiple components anyway. But I don't mind passing down things, but as I said before, I do want the benefit of encapsulating what happens when you click, when you interact with the quantum room, just in this quantum room component. And needing to pass down the whole state, needing to pass down like too many methods, makes me a bit uneasy. I think that wouldn't be convenient. Even if we said, all right, each component does something on click, then some of the rooms will be doing nothing when you click them. Or will just be links and will be getting into different parts of the app. So they shouldn't, I don't think they should implement the same signature. So what we are going to do is create a game controller class, put it in the context, on this level or even higher, we're gonna put something in the app context, and then anything that's within any component that's deeper into wherever we put the game controller would be able to fish out the game controller from the context and do with it as it pleases. So that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be one of the interesting, like, Svelte only things that we will learn today, and we've shown before. It's something similar when you're working with React. They also have this concept of context. And probably more people have thought about context in regards to React than Svelte, to be honest, but that's by the by. So let me take a sip of coffee. And start talking and doing some context. So in the new awesome docs, you can read all about context. They do specify this useful pattern, they call it, to use context indirectly. So Svelte, the library, the UI library, provides some methods to set something in the context. We want to set the game controller in the context, and then for components to get it out of the context. But using these directly can also lead to a bit of a mess, because then my quantum room component will need to know, all right, what was the key for that context of the game controller? And what exactly is the type that it gets? What am I getting back? Like, I need to import the type and then define that, oh, it's going to be like this. It's a bit squirrely. So the Svelte docs do suggest to use a pattern like this. And an even better pattern is the one that our friend Handabyte has made a YouTube video about a long time ago, which is very similar to this. I think the Svelte docs were adapted to Handabyte's idea, but of course Svelte had this functionality to begin with. But I do like how Handabyte creates a symbol for the key. I guess functionally it's the same, because this is going to be like a new unique object every time. But I do think that people will think that this is a bit weird, while making it a symbol may be less weird. Anyway, the big trick that I like is this return type of whatever setter method you've created here. So that's the thing that we're gonna copy paste in our own context. Here you've defined the types, I suppose, somewhere else, and then you say, all right, this is gonna be this. You're gonna type it like this. But Handabyte has this pro tip where it's like, you know, use advanced TypeScript and derive what the return time is gonna be, what the context is gonna be, the return of this method is gonna be, by realizing, by looking into the return type of this other method. Anyway, all of this theory for a bit of code. Again, we're doing this to solve this problem. How do I easily make our quantum component interact with the whole game grid without feeling too naughty? What is happening here? Nothing is happening here. Just that I was playing around with this, and that's not what we'll be going for. All right, so we can put all of these anywhere. Maybe in our lib directory, we can create like a game directory, game utils, the game controller. This will be using runes, so it needs to be a Svelte file, but it's also a TypeScript file, not a UI Svelte file. So what you do is call it .svelte.ts. And this will allow you to do normal TypeScript, but also use runes like state. And in here, we are gonna paste what our friend Handabyte has done. You don't need to use context with classes, but I do like the idea that, you know, that they may work a bit better with classes. I know that classes kind of suck in the JavaScript, but with TypeScript, they're a bit better and they can be helpful in scenarios. We use them to implement interfaces all the time with my poor man's dependency injection, as I like to call it. This is gonna be the game key, game controller key. Doesn't really matter. Symbol is going to be game controller, but also doesn't matter. It's going to be unique every time, no matter what you put in there. And we can call this set and get game controller. Set context, we get this from Svelte. Get context, we get this from Svelte as well. Again, pro handbyte trick. You need to type what you're getting back from the context if you go on type safety. The docs are saying in your helper method, just say that you're returning this as the type that you want. Handbyte says just have TypeScript infer it from whatever this returns. And the game controller class, we're just gonna make up here. Again, you can put anything in the context. You can put, you know, like a number. You can put like a string. We could be putting like the grid here, for example, like just the grid. We could put anything, but using classes with that sort of thing makes sense. And also, speaking of rapid prototyping these things for video games, I do think working with classes here may make it easier to translate this into GDScript or Python code, and definitely C++ code. I suspect if I paste some of this in like advanced LLM or Claude and tell it I want to work this, to put this in Unreal, so make this C++, maybe it will be able to help me. Maybe I know enough C++ from 25 years ago that I'll be able to understand when it's hallucinated or not. Anyway, that's not to say that you should write in a way that's comfortable for LLMs to identify things in a different language. It's just that for this case, I do think in TypeScript, and staying with SvelteKit and TypeScript here, it is handier to use a class for this. All right, so what is this class going to have anyway? Believe it or not, this class is going to have a lot of the things that we kept repeating in all of our components here. So what is a room? Let's have it. Let's put it in this file. And we can export it and reuse it in other places. And in our state, where we are creating the initial grid here, we want to have all of this logic be in here. We want our game controller to use this. Because our game controller is going to have the rim, the grid, which is going to be something stateful, and we're going to create the initial grid and have it be like a 5x5 grid, or maybe 5x10 is fine. What did I say? Row count 10. Let's see. I think it's gonna render kind of nice now that it doesn't have the problem that we had before. Right. So this is a public variable of this game controller class. In the context, we're gonna put in a new instance of this class, which is gonna create the grid state at the very first time. But it's not gonna be created again so long as we don't unmount the component that puts it into the context. And we'll show this soon. So, refactoring time, we have this file now. The quantum room doesn't need to define the room again. It can get it from our game controller. Same for the unknown room. No need to define this. Just bring it in here. Same for the green room. So if we change anything, then everyone will know. Just keep things in one place. Same for the goal. You can have the class in the interface even if you don't use context in the end, but we'll show why this is a bit handier very soon. All right, and the big thing, the state also is not going to be defined on type, so that's kind of nice. Let's call this room component. Nah, we'll have like the room type. But will this need it? I don't know, because it's not going to be created the initial grid. So this doesn't even need to know anything about rooms other than the room Svelte component. What does it need to do? It needs to know of the grid. How can it get the grid? Well, one of the ways it could get the grid is by using our new method, setGameController. And the return value of this is the game controller. And wouldn't you know it, our game controller has a dot grid member variable available. So you can see that now we have the 10 rows that we always wanted. And they all look correct. And the next thing we can do is make it so when you click the quantum component, then something happens. So in the quantum thingy here, we want to place a room in place of this. And for that to happen, this will also get a game controller using our method getGameController. So both getGameController and setGameController return whatever you've put in the context. And all we need is to implement a method that says like pick room, and then you give it like the room coordinates or the room to pick, and then you are good to go. So in our game controller, we want a method that's called place room or something like that. And then we give it the room to place. And I guess it has the coordinates there, which we can get them out. And then we can say like the new grid is going to be this grid. And the new grid is going to be this new room. And then we can go to our quantum guy and place and use the game controller on click to place the room. And let's say we want to place the green room. The coordinates, it's going to be the coordinates of this room. Almost there. You can do it. So when we click green room, great. Was that a real type? But all right, so that's the problems with the state that we're talking about. Then we want this grid to trigger to Svelte. Hey, our current grid is the new grid. Is green a valid type, actually? Who knows? Yes, it is. But we forgot the classes. That's not a real thing. So what did we have before? Like BT green 400. Slate this. Something like that. Emerald. All right, so let's have another look. If we weren't creating the grid with state and we're just doing this mutation, what would happen? So then you can see that Svelte doesn't know to update what I've warned before. And even though you are mutating this room, this nested room here, and even though you are reassigning like the grid there, Svelte doesn't know. about this because you haven't signaled that this is state that I'm going to be reassigning and mutating. Well, now, if we signal this to Svelte and we reassign the grid to something, to a new value, then it's going to do the recalculations necessary to realize that, oh, this room has changed. I am going to update it. Yeah, great. So this room becomes this, and then we can say, we can have all this logic that we've deleted where make turn adjacent non-rooms into quantum. And we can have different logic according to the room type. So if it's like, maybe each room can have a number of entrances or entrances at a specific place, and then only you turn something to a quantum room because there is like a corridor or a door for that one. But that's a complication we'll be adding in the future, or maybe offline. Let me know if you want to see it live or not. In any case, so if incorrect, it had the logic before. Did we have it here? Why not? Did we have it here? Just steal it. Yeah. No. Did we have it in the room? I think we had it here at some point. As we all know, developers are lazy. Alright, so this is the thing that I want to get. So, still works. And in our game controller, turn unknown rainbows into quantum thingies. And now it should work the same and work perfectly like before. Great. And so what happens when you click the quantum component is encapsulated in the quantum component, which is cool because what will want to happen is to show a dialog or like a drawer to give the three options of actually you can have a green or a blue or whatever, different types of room, and then the user selects one of those three. And only then we call this place room method that has its own logic that we've encapsulated here. Hello Simon in the chat, long time no see indeed. It's great to stream. I felt inspired because a friend, I was talking about this Blueprints game to a friend, and she was excited for me as I was talking about it passionately and asked me about how you get the options. Like, do you think they're using algorithms? And I was like, oh, do I ever think they're using algorithms? Not only are they using algorithms, but I'm excited to write some algorithms of my own on how to do something like this. And here we are streaming again, because as we said, we can have tons of parameters that are going to affect is this a fun game or not. We could say if you're on the edge, then you're more likely to get a green room because those are like the gardens. Or if you're closer to the end, then you're more likely to get locked doors or rooms that cost more to make. So you'll need to have gotten lucky or solving like more puzzles before. Or according to what the user has been traditionally picking, maybe giving them different options, something like that. Like you can do lots of fun things, and an algorithm can be something super complicated, but it can be something very simple. And using games to figure out algorithms is something I really like. Cooking is another thing. Baking is often given as really an algorithm because they give you the instructions like, you know, take the baking soda put it in the bowl, then add 50 millimeters of water, mix. This is an algorithm, just a series of instructions. But you can get a bit more complicated at that with games and instantly get some feedback on whether you're doing well with your algorithm. Anyway, rambling too much. What I want to do here, what I want to say is that I encapsulated exactly what happens with the quantum room inside the quantum room. We'll change this to have a pop-up so the user can select. And we've encapsulated what happens when you're placing the room inside the game controller, which is good. I don't think this file is going to get like too crazy, and because even if it's not a quantum room, maybe the quantum rooms are going to be the only ones that will allow the user to place a room. I don't know. We'll think about that. But they'll follow similar rules anyway. They may have a cost that will need to be checking whether you're actually able to place the room. I don't know. We'll see. But I think, and I hope you find that this does make it a bit easier to work with. You'll also notice that as I navigate, this resets. And that's because where we are setting the game controller in the context is in this state component. And this state component only appears in the play page. So if you go to another page and play, it unmounts and then it has to remount and then it resets a new game controller in place. Hello Sam, nice to see you in the chat. And indeed, I wanted to hear the farming music. As you say, code with farming music. And I only allow myself to put that game on if I'm preparing or live streaming. Preparing for a live stream or live streaming. So I had to do it if I wanted to hear that music again and get the retro nostalgia endorphins, then I needed to do a stream. So it brought me back. So yeah, so we're only setting this thing in the context in this state component. A common place to put your context stuff are layout components. So if we did want this in, if one way to keep the state of what the user has clicked, even if they navigate away, now we lose it, would be to go to our root layout component and set the game controller there. And then our state component, instead of setting the game controller, it would be getting the game controller. And now if my calculations are correct, even if I navigate and I go back, it doesn't, the thing that puts the thing in the context does not remount, so it does not recreate the grid every time. So the level where we're setting things in the context matters. If you want things to be put there the first time the users visit the app, but persist, which we may want because we've talked about how some of the rooms could get you into a puzzle page that you need to solve and then come back, so you won't want to lose this state, then you will want to put the thing in the context on a higher level. However, if I refresh, then we lose all of that state yet again because the user has left our app. A way to resolve this, if we want to persist the state, would be to sync with local storage. And if we are working with local storage with this, then we won't need to put this on like a higher level. Not that this does like too many calculations, but if you want like your contact page to be as fast as possible or whatever, then you could not do it at that level. You could have like a layout component on your play directory, on the actual game directory, if the other pages are regarding to marketing of your game or whatnot. Doesn't really matter, just showing a few things. So we can, instead, we can copy our root layout, and in our play route, we can have a nested layout here. And instead of doing a million things, it's only going to be rendering children. And setting the game controller and doing nothing with it, really. But we don't want the children from the groups. So this layout file, we don't want to do anything there. But in the game area of your app, you can instantiate your layout, your controller in there. But now again, we are losing the state as the user navigates. But we're also losing it if the user refreshes, so we're going to solve this with local storage, which may be the next step in the agenda. No, next step is testing. We haven't talked about testing. Another reason to do this with a game controller or a class and not just in a Svelte component is that it's easier to test. It could be the one thing that you should definitely have playwright tests that check the fundamental functionality. We can show at some point where we can give a seed of the word if it's going to be kind of randomly generated, or you're going to get random choices. And then you can know that if the playwright user plays the same way that you've described in the test, they should be able to clear the game every time and see confetti. So that gives you the assurance. But especially when you're making a video game, you're going to have like so many edge cases to cover that having playwright play through all of them is just unworkable. In real life, practically, I think video games just don't do testing. But since this is a web app, we can have super fast Vitest testing of the edge cases. I guess more realistically, the big video game companies, they have QA, they have people that are passionate about their games as well. So they'll do the bug reports, the Jira tickets, and then the engineers will get to them. I don't think you want to do that for your game. You don't have the money to hire a QA, and you can't really keep track of all the issues that people will be writing. So if you want to refactor with confidence, then just have a few meaningful tests. And if they're fast, you can have more meaningful tests. Anyway, sometimes, especially with games, bugs are features. So I don't know why I keep insisting on this matter. But for web apps, not games, testing with confidence is very, very important. Meaningful tests is very, very important because unlike games, bugs aren't nearly as fun if you're trying to do your invoices and your invoice app that you've been making, you know, it causes someone to lose an invoice, a payment or something like that. That's bad. If your pharmaceutical app is giving the wrong medicine to the wrong people, that's really bad. You don't want that. So in that context, meaningful tests are integral, super important. And even though we're doing game dev, not a series here, we can show Vitest. And that's what we're going to do now. Did I put in a timestamp before rambling? Oops, too late. So, because we've abstracted this into a class, we can easily test this with the very fast Vitest here, already running. You can see that I have a script called tdd unit that just runs Vitest, which by default will be running Vitest on watch mode, so it will be checking to see if I'm doing any file changes. And did I see that this took like 0 milliseconds? You are too fast, Vitest. You're unbelievably fast. So we have our game controller and we want the fundamental thing to be tested. We'll create a very fast Vitest test. Game controller.test.ts. And we're gonna get it and expect from Vitest. And we're gonna say it always starts with one entrance, with exactly one entrance. And maybe it doesn't need to be in the same way. Maybe that's the thing you want to refactor. Maybe that's the thing you're playing around with and you want confidence that you didn't start having 3 entrances, and then it's kind of crazy. So the copilot wants me to like unit test this method, create initial grid, which is fine. But I think we can just instantiate the game controller here. And then it's going to flatten the grid, and then every room is gonna it's gonna be able to check every room and see how many entrances we have, and we want the entrance count to be 1. So you can see that this is fine. If I go in here and say that, oh, in this method, you know, at some point I want to randomize the entrance, like math random times row count, whatever. Then it's gonna be I saw it adding a math floor here, I swear. So you can see that it will have a random entrance every time. But then my test will immediately fail, and it's like, oh, you got 2 entrances. What's that about? So just this test, like super fast, you can see that immediately it runs. With Playwright, it would need like a few seconds, which when you're trying to be in the flow, a few seconds do count. So you can always say, you can also say it always has exactly 1 call, whatever. And you can have the bigger edge cases like, oh, if I'm placing a room there, then the neighbor should be quantum, but if there is already a room there, then it shouldn't be quantum, and if the room should have like 1 entrance and no exits and should be a dead end, then it should be doing like this and that. Like all these edge cases, you can capture them with a very fast Vitest test, and then when you keep adding features or tweaking features, you can have the confidence that what you've captured before still works, which is always a great feeling, instead of having to manually, you know, click around like poor QA people have to do in real video games. Like every time they have a new build, they're like, now click everything again. Those people that are testing games like Baldur's Gate, they're heroes, the unsung heroes of our time. Anyway, you don't want to manually be clicking things around to confirm they work every time. That's gonna take ages. The more complex your game is, the bigger your game is, the more time it's gonna take you. So use something like this. And again, to bring it back, in the real world, when you have a more important application than just a game, you don't want to be testing every feature manually. You can capture all the edge cases fast with Vitest, and I always advocate for real apps Playwright, because then you have more confidence that a real user visiting on their actual browser, the real browser, are having the expected experience. And with Playwright, you can also cover common things that aren't that well covered in Vitest, like downloads, for example, like drawing on the canvas or things like that. But I think that is enough for the current Vitest thing. So we are claiming to do, we want to do the fun alert dialog first. So let's make the quantum room a bit more complicated here. We can say random room type. possible room types. Green. What other rooms do I have? None. All boring. What have I created? What have we created? Yeah, nothing fun. Let's do like a corridor. Let's do a corridor and a bedroom. So the bedrooms, maybe some sort of purple, fuchsia 7. And the corridor, let's make them like a amber 600. And we can actually say here const room types. Maybe we can even export it. We can have corridor bedroom here, and export type room type. It's one of these guys, and the quantum room, this should be a room type array, which will help with the autocomplete and say kind of bedroom or corridor here. And then get a random one. Random things, I can only assume Copilot just knows what to do. And maybe not. Maybe not. Wait a minute. We haven't. In our generic room thing, we haven't added the humans. That's the problem. So you can do it. Bedroom, yes. Well done. Corridor, yes. Well done. Can you even go here? Yes. Well done. Copilot, you get a cookie. So now we do get a random one. This unknown thing, which just yeah, so that's not what we want. Then new room, so that's nothing. Right. So every time we click, we get a different one, but so someone asks if it's purely testing that the backend calculations work. Would Vitest be the tool or still Playwright? So that'd be a perfect case for Vitest, because if it's only a backend calculation, you'd want it to be as fast as possible. If it doesn't need anything from the browser, why not have the test be as fast as possible? And that's definitely a prime Vitest use case. And I've used something like that in projects that don't even have a UI element, no React, no SvelteKit, no nothing. We had some backend logic in a strictly TypeScript API that was tested just by Vitest, the fastest possible. That and some tests were kind of shared with the front end as well. So yeah, if it's only backend, why not just do it in the backend? And I guess there are some backend things that SvelteKit will give you. So if you're doing a fetch backend request, SvelteKit will give you, you will put some things in the context. So I guess that's the edge case, but then it's not purely like backend. So for what you're saying, definitely go with Vitest. Definitely. So I was thinking, even if you're taking like a backend API, so if we had an API for this and we said API slash generate room, and we had this functionality, and this would just return some JSON, would I be trying to hit it with Playwright and go there and see we're getting JSON? Probably not. I will be using Vitest for that as well, even though it's doing an HTTP request. But yeah, I think that's like a use case where maybe Playwright will have some methods to parse the JSON that could be a bit handier. So you may be more tempted to use Playwright for that one instead of Vitest, but I still think the speed of Vitest just makes it much better to work with. Right, so what are we doing here? We want the alert dialog. We want the pop-up. So the user selects which one they want. Next, Shadcn has been down for me. It does happen to the best of us. Huntabyte can't be everywhere all at once. Not even Superman can. And not even Huntabyte can be everywhere all at once. So, but if Shadcn is down, you can always go to GitHub and GitHub Shadcn, and surely not two giants will be down at the same time. So GitHub should still be up, and you can actually download the repo for Shadcn and switch to like the next branch or the Tailwind 4 next branch, and then run it locally. It's a SvelteKit app. So you can go there as it runs locally and see all the components that are there and you want to bring in and play around with them, see how to use them and all of that. And if you want to bring it in from your local version of Shadcn, because the real one is not working, you'd also need to go to your component JSON and specify that the registry where I should be getting my components is the one running on localhost. This, besides Shadcn being down, which rarely happens, can happen if you are in like a company firewall, for example. If your company for some reason like is blocking some GitHub requests or only allows GitHub requests to be over SSL or the 443 port or whatever. Like some companies have weird firewall policies. So maybe you're trying to use the CLI for Shadcn and it doesn't quite work. So you can run Shadcn locally and bring in the component from there. So let's try to bring in the component from there and see if it actually works. I do need to now go to the directory that knows about Shadcn. We are in a monorepo. We don't want to overwrite the button. I am ready to install. I don't want to overwrite the button. And pinbim unexpected store. Mod. Seems like it brought in some things. Did it? Lib components UI alert dialog. Yeah, it brought in everything. Let's do my favorite search and replace. If it says .js, replace with nothing. Plonk. Well, that's a bit unfortunate. Just a couple ones. I would have done it manually. All right, so it's this one. We can go back up, campaign format. Let's see what we brought. We have the alert dialog here. The special cancel button. The content. Did my search not find this? Guess not. The footer. Header. Overlay. And that's about it, I suppose. And now we have our alert dialog, and we can create a component for it, which I guess is going to be our quantum component, actually. So bringing everything from here, it's alert dialog. All right, so better. And we can have the trigger be this. I guess they have a pattern for using child components. If we look at the UI, children, child snippet. So this trigger, you can use a snippet to customize how it looks. And how we want it to look is how we had before, but on click will be doing like different things, I suppose. And make sure to press the spread props. So it looks the same, but when you press it, it opens a dialog. Awesome. You cannot escape it by clicking outside, but you can by pressing escape, which we don't want the user to be able to do. Eventually, in blueprints, the moment you open the door, you get your 3 choices and you cannot go check another door. And you cannot re-roll them unless you have like some specific things. So we'll try to do this anti-cheat mechanic at some point. And that means that we'll need to bind the open state, and the moment they've opened this, they cannot escape. They have to select something. you have to interesting design element. So after you've opened, after you've observed clamping room, you have to pick a room to place. Which makes sense. Right, and let's say that in the action, when you click the action, you close the window and you draft the room, I suppose. Is what I'm thinking. Ah, yeah, and here there must be like 3 rooms, right? And what would these rooms be? There you go. Not a real thing. But hey, also not a real thing is Svelte 5. All right, so we could be rendering the rooms themselves here, which could be kind of fun. But let's do it like this first. Can we use a Shadcn button? That should be optional for all of them. So room equals new room, whatever. Oh. Yeah, can just do this, I guess. No, it cannot. Overthinking it. So these should be optional. That's for sure. Something to fix. Or all of them, I'm afraid. Same thing twice, but it's not the end of the word. Let's see how it looks. Not good. Okay. Yeah, not thrilled with this. Doesn't have borders even. Okay, stop overthinking. Let's just say corridor here. Let's just say corridor here. And have 3 others. And we also have like, we have corridor, bedroom, and green room. So now you have your choices, you select one of them, plonk, and then it respects your choice. Good. And of course, this can be a grid equals 3. Looks decent. It's not doing accent. Right, so next up, how do we stop the user from exiting? Maybe that's not what's next up. Maybe next up is when we refresh. We persist. Let's see. So here, maybe we started at like 140 or something. And last one, singing with local stars, and then maybe we'll do the anti-cheat. But we've done this already. Bonus one. Right, so we want let's say that the user is playing, and if they somehow are in another window, we want to see the same game for them. Or if they navigate to see the about page and then go back, we don't want them to lose this. We can get complicated in this and have the state persist, the game state persist in a database. Maybe we do that in the future. But for now, we can just use the user's local storage. Modern browsers, even in incognito mode, allow you to use something like local storage that will persist things for the session, but when they close it up, it's gone, even if they don't close the incognito browser. But still, that won't break. So let's see how we'd persist the game state, I suppose. The idea would be so we create the initial grid here. But if we find one that persists, then we want to recover that one if we find one in local storage. Now the problem is that we can have a constructor in a class. That's fine. Our test should still work. I think we can have like a side effect, special effect room here. I things still don't break even on Vitest. That's great. But the moment we the moment we said that this maybe not actually. We can say that the grid is a multi-dimensional array. Would be handier. All right, but here, can we start like this? Maybe. Yeah. So the problem with class components is that you cannot define the state stuff inside the constructor. But if we just reassign this like this, maybe it's going to be happy. And indeed, it is happy. Great. And it looks like it still works the same. But what I want to do, I want to check if we are on browser mode. If we are on the browser already, then I want to do something which may not work. I guess it works every time. Actually. Okay. We'll double check this later. But if we are in the browser in the constructor here, we could check. Yeah, just the grid. Maybe we can have like a game state. Maybe like we could parse, we could stringify. We can have a method to stringify this whole game controller and have the whole game state. But we could say game state. Game state key. It's game state. And if local storage has this, then the only thing we'll be keeping in there is gonna be the grid. So get this guy or crass. Slightly not. Slightly. That could be null. I see. Could it? Not sure. So just put this here, I guess, and it will understand. Sure. And then the game state will have something that has a grid, and we can say this grid is going to be this. Else, create the initial grid. And also try catch this just in case, like we changed what we're storing in local storage, and the user will lose their game, but they can play a new one. So that's fine. And we could even delete this. It's fine. Right, so everything should still work, but we never persist anything in local storage. So when would that happen? We can set up an effect and check if we're on the browser and local storage is available. Then we can keep setting this. Can keep stringifying that the grid is this, and it will work even if we do the inventory system and so on and so forth. And refresh. Great, we start from where we were, and if I go in this window and refresh, then it's gonna know what state I was in. So there you go. Syncing with local storage, we can open the inspector and go to our local storage here. We're not saying how long to save this for. It is going to be a decent amount of stuff here in local storage, but it's fine. So if we nuke this, and you can see we start just fine, refresh, we still see our game. We navigate from one page to play again, we still see it. Good. What else? Restart the game if I think that this doesn't quite work. If I don't like my position, I can give up and start a new game. Of course, a big part about the blueprints is that there is, like, besides knowledge, I don't know. I don't know how that game works, so I'm not going to talk about it. In our case, definitely every time you press to start a new game, it's going to be really a brand new game. So you won't get any persistent unlockables or anything like that. So how do we trigger that? Maybe at the end we can have like a red reset button. Start from scratch, maybe here. Okay. So state. Is it in this page? Everything is going to be used in this, I guess so. So yeah, instead of having like this weird layout, we will have it. Let's have this thing. Didn't copy the correct thing. This, copy, paste, get this. So here, do I have like a lead? I do. Just need to observe it. Sometimes Copilot does make your life harder. Lead, come on, you can do it. I see things. Yes, great. And maybe here we can have something. It has a button. Copilot. Bring in the button first, so you understand how you can help me. And clicking this button could should do something that the game controller exposes. Should it be creating a grid? Okay, so start new game. All right, and then we can also just call start new game in these two places where we're doing the same thing. So if we want to change the parameters of a new game, we can just do this here. And here, we'll say on click in controller start new game. We could have a, are you sure? But I think that's fine for now. Refresh, persist, reset, persist. Tunk, tunk. Great, synced. And that's about it. What else do we have? Anti-cheat, so if you see the options, then you cannot escape out of it. Which you don't need right now because like every room is possible and every room like leads to every other room. So you don't need any tactics to win. You can keep going to the goal. So maybe we can do like the win condition and call it a stream. Maybe we can try to do that. So we have our goal component, and it's here that we want to do something conditionally. We also want this to be a button, I suppose, but we want it to be disabled according to some state, like can when. And then if you have reached the goal, then so now it's disabled. We cannot actually get in there. And I guess it's the game controller again. So let's get the game controller, and we'll have some state here that is gonna be like win game. Maybe it has like a state that's like can win game. So let's see. Can win. Yeah, let's define whether you can win in the goal component. So derived state derived by, if you want a method, if you want a multi-line derive. So the neighbors I guess that's kind of correct. Adjacent rooms are this. And we need at least some of them to not be quantum rooms. They need to be there, but they need to not be quantum, and they need not be unknown. We can refactor this. And it's disabled when you cannot win. And we can have a special class. Where this is when you cannot win. But then, if you can win, it becomes like softer. Would you notice this? Not sure. So if we start afresh, you can see that it's a deeper color. And if we reach it, it becomes deeper. Impossible to see. So let's add some confetti. For when you can actually click it. Reach goal is not a real thing. What happens when you reach the goal? I'm not sure. Maybe you broadcast an event or something. And then you reset the game. Unclear. So let's do nothing for now. There is like a Svelte confetti thing. Pretty. Oh, it's throwing images now. It's getting too powerful. Full screen, great. Too many examples. All right, so full screen example. So if we just place this inside the button, and we add this button component, this Svelte confetti component. Ah, interesting. Does it have local storage? Unfortunate. So we must have broken something. If local storage is not available, then we're not creating the initial grid, I suppose. But we're not on the browser. Ah, this is the else that we're looking for. There you go. Tests work. No, real life doesn't work. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. It's because in real life we do nothing. We only want to start a new game in the browser. That's my problem with the tests. So that's a bit of unfortunate. So I did put this in the correct place, but this affects the test. So maybe we will need to test this like individually with the initial grid, unfortunately. Or we'll have to manually call the start new game thing. Will that work? Yeah. All right. Without needing any logic just for the tests, which is good. But for the confetti, we're saying that we want to install the confetti component. Go into the correct directory. npm add d Svelte confetti. I think they still use it for the simple project, the big project in the SvelteKit wizard. That's how I found out about it. Imported by Destruction. Yeah, it's named export. Okay. Works. But we only want to show it in specific cases. Let's just create like a toggle confetti, I guess. So confetti is state false. If this is not disabled, then we can click it and make it be show confetti true. And we could also signal to the game controller that we won, but hey. And did they dream the if-else statement? It's disabled if we cannot win. So now it should be enabled. Now it should be enabled. Great. Now you can click it and you get the confetti. Yay. Amazing. You get it for 5 seconds. But sometimes, yeah, my caps lock key. It's just toggle it if you get annoyed. I guess the game controller could be putting this in the DOM. But hey, let's not overthink it. Too late. We'd want some sound as well, but hey. And this will make it so it's gonna fall outside of the screen. It should be fun. Is it delay parameter as well? Ah, I see. So delay instant to 500. All right, enough confetti. I think this could be it for today. So do we make this Tailwind style. To annoy people. Ah, it starts off screen. Interesting enough. I see. I guess I have managed to Faranglaw says what's in some unreasonable problem with code, a perfect antidote for all those vibe coding YouTube videos. I had a long vacation in Thailand, and I met somebody who taught me what's vibe coding, and I don't know. I have thoughts. I am sure it is cool that you can like prompt your way to success, I guess. But at some point, I don't know. I haven't formulated my thoughts enough to have a point there. I'll always find more fun being able to understand and reason about the code than it is to reason about a prompt and trying to understand the LLM. It's like the worst parts of human interaction where you're trying to understand what does the stakeholder want, what does your other engineer want, what do you want. Like those can be like vague, like you don't know, like the broken telephone type of whispers where you lose some information, there are some crossed wires and all of that. But at least you're talking to humans that have some intuition and know some fundamentals. But instead of that, you're trying to interact with the LLM, which, as we've mentioned in the past, has the experience or the ability of a junior engineer, but the authority, the confidence of a senior principal engineer. And in Thailand, so what did we do? Chiang Mai was my favorite and my wife's favorite. And we did Koh Samui for a little while. I'm an island boy, so I was excited to see another island in the other side of the world, outside of Greece, where I'm from. And Bangkok for a little bit as well. Chiang Mai was definitely the favorite. It had great food and more homely town vibes, for sure. Nice cafes, nice everything. And we were tourists, like we had a car some days and we tried to go around and see many things on the countryside. We reached the Golden Triangle, which is the border with China and Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, which was quite interesting as well. But it is one of those places where I'd like to go again because there are many things that we haven't seen. But it was very fun. Right. So, anything else? So I was talking about the styling here. But if I give this the tailwind class for the position fixed, right? It should just work the same. And it does. So the top -50. Next time we go, I'll be sure to ask in the Discord for any tips. It's always more fun if you have someone who has been there before, and even more someone who has lived in a place to give you all the good tips. Although sometimes it's fun to just be a tourist. So yeah, just debugging this. So if we don't start off screen, then how these get dispersed is like visible to the user. Sneaky. I suppose that's what's happening there, right? Yeah, sneaky. So it could be a place where we do want this to happen, like off screen. I guess this depends on how big the confetti are, so you want to hide it. That's why it looked kind of weird. Interesting. And yeah, why do this with viewport classes when you can just copy paste it? I don't know. Adam from Tailwind is doing quite a lot of tutorials, and on a lot of them for Tailwind 4 now, it's how it can work with custom properties, CSS variables. And it's like in your classes, you can like do set like the border width. And I don't know. It feels like I'm still championing Tailwind, but in the past I've seen like no reason to not to be a Tailwind hater, and you still shouldn't be a Tailwind hater or a hater of anything as well. But the danger that I was told that people will want to do everything in like the classes here because of Tailwind, it's here. We've arrived to this future, and I don't think it's bad, but it does look quite weird. Anyway. I don't even remember, is this like a Tailwind class or not? No, we need a custom attribute here. So have this be full flex for some reason. So hidden and no pointer events. No inline styles, it'd be fine to have inline styles here, not the end of the word. But yeah, just to understand what this is doing. All right. So with the confetting, I think that's gonna be it. And we're gonna do our commit and deployment and see if it plays in real life. Our tests still passing, great. Commit everything besides componentation because Shadcn I'm sure will work again. So we can push this, hope for the best, see if it deploys. Let's see. We are using GitHub for this, link in the description, link to the deployed version as well. In the description, we're using Cloudflare to deploy this. It shouldn't take too long. In the meantime, let me know in the chat what you want to do. I had this demo version playing around yesterday because I always have a bit of a plan of what we'll do today and of what we'll do in a live stream. But it's usually a rough plan. I don't know if we'd go like exactly that way. I won't understand, like, do I know enough? Do I not? And if I'm comfortable, I can make the agenda for the day and see how we can go through things. As always, present with a plan, and then the powers that be laugh and throw you a loop. But fail to plan, plan fail, as they say. All right, how many generalities do I need to say before we can see if this is deployed? It's deployed indeed. So now we have the select box, and the selections are always the same, and each type of room is really the same. It just has like a slightly different UI. And if you make it to the goal, quantum room doesn't count as a observed real room, so you cannot get to the goal yet. Then the goal becomes activated and you can press it and you find the confetti condition, and you can do more things like an alert you won, like high score and all of that. But that's fine enough to get us started. We could also lock like the game, and you cannot affect this anymore if you've already won. That's why we may want to call the game controller. This persists in local storage, you can reset, but if you refresh in the same browser, you should get the same state every time. So that works. You can start afresh anytime. Lots of fun things we could show in the future, like the different room types. If it's a green room, then it can give you some resources, more likely to give you resources according to a random chance that is affected by the room type. Some types of rooms can appear only in specific places or have a higher chance to appear in specific places, like a green, like a garden room would only be on the edges or more likely to appear on the edges. And I guess the most fun thing is that every time you pick a quantum room to observe, you get 3 choices of rooms you can see, and each one of them can have a different layout. So not everything will have an exit to everything else, because that's not really fun. You can just, it's just a let's keep clicking game. The fun of it would be if it's actually a puzzle, if you need to think to complete it, if you need to create a little maze in order to get all the way to the goal, if some rooms have cost, so you need to think in advance and already be able to pay for a more advanced room type that you encounter, because if you see that you need like 5 gems here and you do not have 5 gems, you'll see it and you won't be able to use it, and you'll need to use one of the other ones that may not be working for you. So you would end up in a game over situation where you need to restart. Other cool things to show besides the game logic would be that maybe we could have like a sketch drawing of each tool, where we could show hosting this in Cloudflare. User submissions for rooms, like I have this proposal for a room and here's like the attached screenshot of a sketch. That would be fun. That would be a way to show uploading images as well. I'm always thinking of ways to use these tools, show how to use these tools in realistic ways. Would it be like crowdsourcing the type of room? Fun? Would it be a fun scenario? I don't know. You let me know. The other thing that Blueprints, the video game, does is that you have a drafting pool of rooms that may appear. And we can show this. So instead of having a chance of like 3 rooms, even when we've done that each of these 3 rooms can have different amount of entrances, exits, we could actually have a huge array of all the possible rooms that the user may encounter in this seed of game. And maybe you can do some things to increase like your pool or have more advantageous rooms. Maybe, you know, if you log in for free and you get like rooms with more doors. I don't know. It's just fun things to think about to show in the next one. That's gonna be it for today, though. So let me know, final chance for any questions, or else I'm gonna catch you next time. Plunk, 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 plunk. All right, thanks everybody for today. Play around with this, not a puzzle yet. Offline, I'll try to make some of these things, so at least if people click the link, they will see that it's a puzzle. They need to think and pick the correct one to actually make it to the goal. But if you have other suggestions, let me know. Check things out in the Discord, leave a comment, all of those things. Do what you must. Hope you liked this one. Hope it was fun. No affiliations with anything, as always. Neither for Blueprints, just a game that I really liked and lots of people seem to be loving nowadays. The favorite game I've played recently is actually The Root Trees, which was quite fun. That's another game that you can try to iterate on in a fast way with SvelteKit, because it's a lot of 90s style computer searching in order to find clues and the relevant articles, that you can easily iterate and find the real things, the core gameplay in a SvelteKit project. And then when you think you got it, you go to Godot or you go to Unreal and you actually implement it there. Anyway, before I ramble too much, thanks again to everyone for hosting, especially the people in the chat for keeping me company, and I'll catch you all later. Bye!